Hey guys, Columbus Models here. Today we are continuing building the Weird and Wonderful builds. This time it is the Brengun 1/72 scale Bachem Ba-349a Natter. I bought this kit cheap online because I thought this vehicle is very interesting, and since it's a small simple kit, I've decided to make a short video of the build as I'm between major builds at the moment. So first I'll do a quick preview of the kit, then a little history of the aircraft as I think this is very interesting, and then the build. So I hope you enjoy the video. So I'll show the single sprue. You'll see this is a very simple kit, hence the short video. The vehicle itself is incredibly small, so in 1/72 scale, this model is one of the smaller builds in 72nd scale I've done. It comes with a small decal sheet with testing markings and 2 proposed operational markings. The clear canopy is nicely moulded, and the kit comes with photo-etched seatbelts and aiming sights. The plan for the camo scheme is a 1946 What If, light grey and dark grey splinter camo. So for a bit of history, the Bachem Ba-349a Natter, or Viper, was a German point-defense rocket-powered interceptor, which was to be used in a similar way as a manned surface-to-air missile, and was to be piloted by a relatively untrained pilot as the German Air Force had lost a significant number of pilots by this time. The Natter launched off a vertical launch rail, which meant they didn't need an entire airfield. Instead, they would have operated in small clearings and wooded areas. At launch, the Natter used the 4 booster rockets on the outside of the fuselage to propel it towards an enemy bomber formation at an incredible climb rate. During this time, the Natter was controlled via autopilot. Once it got to altitude, the boosters were exhausted and the main rocket motor engaged to get the Natter to the bomber formation. When it got into range, the nose cap was released to expose the 24 rockets, which the pilot then fired like a shotgun to try and take out as many aircraft as possible. After this, the rocket fuel was burned up, so to quote land, unquote, the Natter, the fuselage separated in half, which at the same time flung the pilot out. Then all 3 parachuted back down to the ground to be recovered. There was only one manned vertical takeoff flight on the 1st of March 1945, which ended in the death of the test pilot. The test area was then overrun by Allied forces. So to start the build, I used a digital microscope to glue the photo-etched seatbelts onto the pilot's seat. You can see I actually managed to record using the digital microscope, so you can see this in a much clearer detail than what I could. One of the reasons I use the digital microscope is because my eyesight is not that good for this kind of stuff. I then glued the cockpit to the side of the fuselage, then painted the interior a light grey, as called for in the instructions. Since this is a what-if scheme though, I wasn't too fussed with trying to get colours that accurate, as this is just purely an imagined operational Natter in 1946, and it's only really speculation of what it would have been painted like, so I get a bit of artistic license and freedom on this one. After that, I glued the 2 halves together. There wasn't a perfect fit to these 2 halves, they did require a bit of filling and sanding here and there, but otherwise there wasn't too many problems putting this one together. Whilst that was drying, I built up the tail section and then attached it to the back of the fuselage. The wings went on like a dream. They had no fitting issues at all. They fit quite snugly in their tabs, and very little glue was needed to keep them there. The boosters were then attached to the fuselage. All they had were two very shallow locator pins, so I had a bit of trouble trying to locate them in the correct area. But otherwise, the canopy went on, and there was a fit issue here as well. After that, I built the wooden cradle off screen, and that was all for the build. Told you this would be a quick one. So, on to the painting. I painted the cradle first, painting it in a tan acrylic paint, then painting an orangey brown oil paint all over it. Used a hairdryer to evaporate the thinner, then used an old brush to brush a wood grain effect onto the planks. After that, I primed the Natter, then painted it black all over. Once it was completely black, I masked off the lower third of the fuselage and then painted the rest of it in a light grey. Once this was done, I masked the splinter design off and painted it a dark grey all over. You'll see the tail pattern already painted. I used a homemade stencil to paint a speckled design. Once the dark grey was dry, the masking tape was peeled off. Then all that was needed was to paint the nose rocket and the boosters in a metallic grey. Then the entire thing was varnished in a matte varnish. I gave the Natter a full filter wash to try and show up panel lines and give it a generally dirtier look. I didn't want it to look brand new or anything like that. After that, there was my favourite part, peeling off the canopy masks. And then after that, all was needed was to add on some decals, and I could call this quick little build finished. So here we have it, the finished Natter on its wooden cradle. The reason I painted the cradle such a vibrant orange-brown was it would contrast against the different greys of the Natter's camo scheme and give it a bit more contrast and vibrancy. You'll have to excuse me if my voice sounds a little bit weird sometimes. I am currently infected with COVID at the moment and having a lot of fun with that. Hence why I decided to do this small build instead of working on the major build I am working on for this channel right now, which I am very excited about, but I am currently too sick to work on it, so I figured this will make a nice interim video. I do enjoy building the weird and wonderful, and this Natter is absolutely no exception. So, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.